Well, WWE has done it, Mr. Burns has won it, but when you go through all the statistics and all the numbers, when it comes to WWE in 2024, they are on a tear right now. And in many ways, they're more successful than they have been in years. It's quite frankly ridiculous when you do get into the nitty-gritty, and if you wanted to walk into my house and say, Simon, I think this is the best they've been since the Attitude Era, when it does come to financials, etc., well, you'd probably be right. A huge reason for this has been the changing of the guard, because even things like production have now totally been mucked around with. And on paper, that doesn't sound like a big deal, but when you see these brand new camera angles, it makes you feel like you're watching a fresh product. And you know what else is fresh? Bread, and we all love bread. The truth is, the product has needed these wholesale changes for a long old time, so it's brilliant they have been brought in, as was, and here's a curveball, when Cody Rhodes was brought back at WrestleMania 38. From there all the way through to WrestleMania 40, we did have this idea of Cody finishing his story, which he did do but a few months ago of me recording this, and it was just something that we could all buy into, and now we stand here and say to ourselves, man, that was a rollicking good time that I will remember forever. Some, however, are now saying that Triple H has made a right blunder, and why? Because it's right there. Also, here's why. Now, I'll be the first to admit that I don't totally buy into this, because I just think you have to follow Triple H's favourite catchphrase and let things play out. As far as I'm concerned, we're only in the first inning here, when it does come to Cody Rhodes, and I want to see what's around the corner. The conversation is out there though, and it's mostly that we do all love Cody Rhodes, because he was the right place at the right time, in the right match, with the right opponent, and right everything, which is always followed up with but. Now, all ties into this fact we've already discussed that WWE could be in its third boom period right now. We start with the 80s, then we move on to the Attitude Era, when we get to essentially 2024. Because the real key about all of those is the follow-up. It doesn't matter what you do before that. If all of a sudden you don't crown somebody, or you do end a story, but then you absolutely drop the ball, people, especially wrestling fans, quickly forget about the way that you did get here, and they just say, we don't like this booking, it totally sucks. And they probably do that with their hand because it's really annoying. It's very much a what did you do for me lately situation, and we can tie it into real sports, because the catchphrase over there is, well, it's far harder to defend a title than it is to win one. This is mostly because people do just get accustomed to things as soon as they do have it. What once was exciting all of a sudden becomes normal. Rhodes is still a little bit different at the moment though, because he is just the man, and I'm going to use the stat that I always use, he sold over $1 million worth of merchandise over WrestleMania 40 weekend. So don't try and tell me he's fallen off the wagon. If you say that, you're just wasting words and you're wasting breath. And you need those, otherwise you'll die. He's also the most influential wrestler in North America right now because he has claimed this top spot. And in many ways, it ties into his most recent past. Throughout 2022, Cody was well aware that he wasn't in a position of power down in AEW when he went out of his way to make sure he didn't make the same mistakes as his predecessors. Like, he did win more than he lost, but every single person he did tangle with came out the other side feeling a bit more like a star. I mean, look at someone like Eddie Kingston, and look at somebody like Ricky Starks. Sonny Kiss and Lance Archer also had their best matches in All Elite Wrestling with Cody Rhodes, and then there's Darby Allin. When you go through that entire feud, I think it's one of the reasons that Darby did become a massive star. Well, that and the fact he's totally bonkers. The whole I can't challenge for the World Championship thing did become a problem after a little while, and eventually he looked to his left, he looked to his right, and he said to himself, I don't think AEW is right for me anymore, where he made a second massive gamble in his career, the first being back in 2016 when he left WWE, when he rejoined World Wrestling Entertainment. My word, did he make the call of the century. There was one more hurdle, of course, because at the Hell in a Cell 2022, he did rip his pectoral muscle right off the bone, and it still totally blows my mind that somebody allowed him to go ahead with this, but good grief did it serve him well, because it let everybody know, hey, I'm not just a nice guy, I am a tough son of a ditch, and he really was. How in the flub did he gut through this? It also meant the comeback at the 2023 Royal Rumble was even bigger, because that's how sports entertainment works, when he lost to Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 39. But it's fine now, because we got 12 months down the line, and he did win the WWE title. We all felt warm and fuzzy in our tum-tums. Not even The Rock coming back from nowhere could stop this momentum, because he was on a roll, when all of a sudden, two of these criticisms were thrown into the mix. And number one was he shouldn't be having all of these one-off singles matches, he needs a proper feud, and two, he should not be doing this on SmackDown. The whole champion versus champion thing back in May with Logan Paul didn't help any of this, because once again it had people guessing. Now, like, well, why the hell did Nick Aldis make Logan Paul the #1 contender anyway? And why all of a sudden was the United States Championship taken out of this? According to the GM, that was always meant to be part of the plan. At least when that was involved, it kind of made sense. It wasn't 2 + 2 = potato, because it was like, well, I suppose ironically we are going to go all in with Cody Rhodes, and he's going to be a 2-time champ or a double champ. And look, you always run the risk there because it is a big thing to do. But if you were going to pick anyone, Cody was your guy. And the way this chat does tie in is because people think it is because Rhodes got moved to Friday nights. Like, he had that match with AJ Styles, which was brilliant, by the way, and I'll get into that in just 1 second. And ever since Logan's US title was moved out of the frame, everyone was like, well, Cody's clearly going to beat him. Logan Paul isn't going to be the WWE champion, so actually there was more jeopardy when it was belt versus belt. Now, I think a lot of this did come due to the fact that over on Raw, a lot of his sparring partners were still there that had made the build to WrestleMania so interesting. I mean, namely CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. But there was also a Gunther, and he had beef with Damian Priest in the Judgment Day, which could have opened the door for Cody Rhodes versus Finn Balor. Now I think about that, could I please have that WWE? I think I'd love it. If you wanted to do one-offs too, there was a Chad Gable, Sheamus I suppose, or an Ilya Dragunov, although to be fair to the company, the equivalent of that they did do on Fridays, because he did have that match with Carmelo Hayes. I know that was a little bit weird, but in terms of comparisons, I get it. Which is when we have to bring in the counterpoint to all of this, because of course, who right now is on SmackDown, arguably one of the biggest stars in WWE, and maybe ever, Randy Orton. This is the real reason I do think we shifted Cody to Fridays, because right now when you look at WrestleMania 41, there is a lot of traffic there, especially because apparently we are getting Rhodes versus The Rock. So if you can't do a Cody Rhodes versus the Randy Orton at the show of shows, you should do it at SummerSlam, and as me talking, that's only a few months away. That is brilliant though, because it gives us time to tell this story, and my word, when you jump into the thing, there is more depth there than Scrooge McDuck's bank account. I think that'll be so good that any worries people do have will be thrown out of the window. And also, let's face it, if you are someone going, Cody Rhodes is one WWE champion is a failure, well, you are a little bit nuts, because it's too close to determine, or it's too early to determine. We barely got going. Let's also not forget that Stars Clash, and yes, that is pun intended, got rave reviews from anyone, and I know if I was going to be coronated WWE champion, the first thing I would want to do in my first defense is have a banger match. That's exactly what they did. So even if you are out there desperate for Cody to go back to Monday Night Raw so he can tangle with a Bron Breakker, well, they'll probably do this whenever they decide to do this. Like, I know we got the brand split and we had the draft, but how many times over the last few years do superstars, especially one like Cody, just turn up on the other show and be like, well, I was in the area and I thought I'd stop by. So I really find that hard to be concerned about such a thing when it's not actually a hurdle at all, even more so when we move into 2005. Because where is Raw going? Netflix. So if he is really defending his title against The Rock at WrestleMania 41, this is mostly going to go down on Monday night. I mean, one, Netflix is basically where The Rock makes his business nowadays. And two, if SmackDown goes to the USA Network, which is cable TV and not network TV, then Netflix all of a sudden becomes your best old friend, and that is where Dwayne is going to want to go. It just makes sense. However, if we do tie it into the moment, which we have to do, that's why Cody Rhodes is on SmackDown, because that's Fox, which is a bigger station, and it gets bigger viewers. So if you have decided, well, he's our guy right now, he's the dude we're getting behind, of course you're going to want more humans to see him, because if he has that same connection with them, well, you're going to have a brand new WWE fan. And they'll buy merch, more money. So I really don't think we are far enough into this at the moment. And again, let's not pretend we haven't seen how popular Cody Rhodes is. People absolutely adore him. I'm one of them. That is what really matters as well, and also we need to keep in our brains that wrestling is essentially a 365-day-a-year thing, so you can't have guns a-blazing narratives all of the time, otherwise you'll lose sight of the ones that are tippity-top and ones are right in the middle. It means you get to WrestleMania and you won't be pumped at all because they gave you WrestleMania every single day. And I know some of you go, well, that sounds great. No, it's not. It's like these schmerals that say, man, I want Christmas every day. You get to December 25th and you'd absolutely hate it. So I really do feel like sometimes it's okay to get the other stuff. And in fact, I feel sorry for the other stuff. It's like an orphan. It just wants to find a nice home. So why can't we all just sit back and enjoy it? At the same time, I do understand some of the logic people are throwing out there, but that's why WWE may actually get ahead of me here, because I think the Randy Orton program is right round the corner. And if they talk about legacy, and if they talk about Ted DiBiase Jr., and all the stories they have away from the ring, I promise you this. When we do get to Hot WrestleMania, which I've started to call SummerSlam, and that is the main event, you are going to be so damn pumped, and you're going to have that jeopardy in your tum-tum where you start going, Well, I doubt that Cody Rhodes would lose that WWE title right now, but what if he does? It is the Viper. He hears voices in his head. I actually think that'd be perfectly fine as well, because he can just win this back later on down the line, before indeed he does go and take on the last boss at WrestleMania 41. I mean, we have ages till that event. Given that Roman Reigns held the belt for 7,962 days, I actually think it would just be fun to do something a little bit different, and it would make people go, well, I didn't see that coming. That's an important part of professional wrestling. It then translates to the entire show. You just don't know who's gonna win and lose. So I am totally fine with Cody Rhodes being on SmackDown at the moment and these one-off feuds that he has been doing, because I think the big one is about to enter our orifices, which is a terrible thing to say. And also, what? It's June right now. January ain't that far. It's gonna be back on Raw then anyway. My life is too short. Now, I just know you're going to have thoughts and feelings about this, so please do drop me a comment below before you like the video, share the video, and subscribe. And look, right there, it's a video of me talking all about the Codyverse, whatever the flub people called it, where we go all the way from AEW all the way to WWE. Although I did record that before WrestleMania 40, so when it is done, you're going to have to stand there and say some things. You can record it into a camera as well if you want and put it on the internet. I know what we're talking about. This happens a lot recently. Oh, look. Tiny shoe. Goodbye.